So today, 2.7 billion people globally don't have access to basic banking services, but that is changing rapidly. With this, people can't save money securely, get loans, or send money to family in other countries without paying massive fees. So the blockchain is enabling anyone with a smartphone to become their own bank. And not just to become their own bank, that's really what it's about. It's about taking responsibility for your own money instead of, in a way, we're still going to have the institutions because they're on board now too, because it's dealing with money, right? How can we miss this? But the thing is, it's open to everyone. It's a really big open market right now. So not only can you be sovereign in controlling how you spend money, but you can choose whether you want private money or public money now. And we'll get into that in a few other videos. You can also choose basically just how you want to interact. Like you can go without spending cash, period. You can literally turn fiat into one of these coins or tokens. In the highest standard, it would probably be Bitcoin or, maybe the top three, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. But, and of course, a lot of people will be interacting with stable coins. But for the most part, we'll stick to the originality, which is, we'll just say Bitcoin right now, because Bitcoin is at the highest as far as not just money wise, the utility. And right now, a lot of companies, including Cash Out, will block. A lot of companies are trying to stick to the what they call cypherpunk motto or mantra, where it's peer-to-peer payments and nobody is in between that. You can literally just make payments or receive payments from people or make them to people from all over the world without somebody telling you whether you can or can't, without somebody stopping you and saying, hey, can you verify this right fast? Or wait, you only have $10,000 a week to do this transaction, right? Zelle or, anywhere, any bank. So beyond digital money, the blockchain's purpose extends far beyond replacing banks. It's about removing middlemen from any system where trust is needed, right? So, for example, healthcare, instead of your medical records being locked in different hospital systems, the blockchain lets you own your data while securely sharing it with any doctor anywhere. And so, with this, there are what they call decentralization. I know that term goes around a lot, but decentralization just deals with regulation. It deals with the decentralization of regularized industries. So no more is it going to be like, you may still have a lot of big companies, but there now the regulations are to a point where anybody can get in. So that's why you see more companies coming up that can provide phone services. That's why you see more companies coming up saying, hey, get your energy or your power here. That's why you see more people getting into different industries, like easy as selling water. We'll just say something easy like that. Or just anything, any industry that you can think of where there are more people or more businesses coming out. Let's just think about China, right? Since that was the biggest wave this week with the tariffs setting off the market. There are more people now or in the past few years finding out, how they can get their products and things directly from the manufacturer, right? And directly from China. Whereas way back when, you either had to go through some lengthy process or you had to wait for a wholesaler to get you the right merchandise, find the right person. You just had to go through a lot of things. And you still may have to go through some steps, but now you have direct access. And that's what decentralization is. So with healthcare, instead of one system having your information, there is a company that has probably already created a way where you can navigate with your records securely, um, and all you have to do is probably just share it, with your provider or something like that. So, yep, that's how that goes. Instead of it being with this type of hospital or this hospital. So as far as companies like there's a company called Power Ledger. They let homeowners with solar panels sell excess energy directly to neighbors, bypassing utility companies entirely. This is happening right now in Australia, the US, and India. That's major. Imagine not having to, you might have a power company, as your backup, but imagine not having to have a power company at all. And like, y'all have solar panels in the neighborhood. Y'all get plenty of sun. Y'all have plenty backup reserves, like they say, excess energy. And you can literally sell this energy to your neighbors, and they can have the same access to energy that you have, and probably at a better rate, right? So that's amazing. All right. And so this part is dealing with insurance. So usually with insurance, you have to wait weeks for insurance claims or just all types of things. Even with insurance claims, it could just be something as easy as maybe something dealing with a flight delay and that type of insurance. Well, there's a company called AXA where they offer what they call smart contracts that automatically pay flight delay insurance when delays exceed 2 hours. No paperwork, no waiting. It just instantly, it's already happened. And that's the power in this innovation as well, is because things are happening quicker, faster. And we're not even talking about AI or anything like that. We're just talking about the infrastructure of even what AI will run on. So here's the bigger picture. Blockchain is about digital ownership, or ownership in general. Right now, you don't really own your social media, okay, your post, your digital music, or even your money in your bank, because you're literally lending that. You're essentially renting space in someone else's system to hold your money and for them to flip your money on the back end and then give you like a small percentage to say, hey, thanks for storing your money here. So the blockchain totally flips this. It creates true digital property rights where you control your assets, your data, and your digital identity without needing permission from any corporation. The purpose isn't just to create new technology, it's to restore individual ownership and control in an increasingly digital world. All right, so again, we go back to sovereignty, we go back to ownership, we go back to basically taking responsibility and accountability for our own everything. And yeah, a lot of people are like, nah, I'm okay. I don't mind somebody looking, you know, having a backup plan. But, eventually in the future, like, these things are going to be so evolved. Like, just again, think about the internet. Not too long ago was it created. And then now, right, we have this time frame where on top of the internet, now we have a whole new innovation. So there's no telling where we really are headed, but there's a lot of opportunity. So yeah, so imagine contracts that execute themselves. You agree to buy a house, you put your money in the escrow, and when all conditions are met, ownership transfers automatically without lawyers, banks, or government offices. This is happening today with smart contracts. I love smart contracts. They're very interesting. So that's a whole nother thing. But these keywords are things that you should know about just to keep in mind. So when you do hear the words, you can say, oh, I remember learning that in the video. So this has created an entire parallel financial system called DeFi, decentralized finance. People are lending, borrowing, and trading over 200 billion without traditional banks. The only way they would actually need the bank, right, is sending fiat to the decentralized exchange to do these transactions. But the entire system runs on code, and that anyone can examine and no single entity controls. Now, the thing about that part is there are companies that have been established that have created these platforms, we'll say. So But then there are also companies that have these platforms that have what you call DAOs, and those are decentralized autonomous organizations. And those organizations run basically in a way where it's not your standard corporation. Everyone has a say or a stake in the company. And the same way how you would have shares in a company, you can either gain with tokens or coins with or access to this company by either doing some type of work for the company, or you can just be an investor and you can just solely be staking or running nodes, or it's all type of ways. But that's just something to keep in mind as well. NFTs and digital ownership. NFTs, I'm sure you've heard a lot about NFTs, and maybe not as much lately, but NFT stands for non-fungible tokens. And NFTs proved we can have unique digital items. So while some dismiss NFTs as expensive pictures, they're actually testing ground for digital property rights. So imagine buying a digital house in a virtual world, or a house in a real world, okay, that you truly own and can modify and can sell to anyone, right? And the same thing in the digital world, because that's it's not popular because the metaverse came here, went there, right? But we had to come back to AI, right? And so what's going to happen is that we're coming back to AI, we're coming back to the infrastructure, we're coming back to the blockchain. The market is calibrating and getting ready, and also the gaming systems that are running on all of these platforms and in these markets are getting ready. And what's going to happen is we're going to shoot back into these virtual worlds, because remember, you need the infrastructure, you need the hardware. And right now, everybody's working out the kinks in their hardware for the 3D worlds or the virtual worlds. And in these worlds, people are going to have properties, right? The same property that you actually have right now that you're sitting at will literally be reflected on the blockchain in the metaverse somewhere, but someone else may own it. It may not even be the people who actually own it in the real world, right? Unless they stake claim first. And it depends on the system. It's a really big dynamic, right? The decentralized internet. Web3 represents the next evolution of the internet. Instead of your data living on Facebook servers, it could live on a blockchain you control. Instead of YouTube taking 45% of ad revenue, or whatever company that you have to share profits with, you could own the platform and share in the profits. All right. So early Web3 applications are already here, like Brave browser, which pays you for viewing ads, Mirror, which is now Paragraph, that lets writers publish articles that literally get sent to the blockchain and get paid directly by readers. You don't need a Stripe, you don't need anything. You just literally get paid direct. And you can also turn your article into an NFT, or like I said, it goes directly. It's stored on the blockchain forever. You also have Audius, which is building a Spotify where artists keep more of their earnings, and that's a big thing as well. That's so big that a lot of celebrities have created tokens. Well, not pause. I might be talking a little bit in the future. Not a lot of celebrities. So during the wave of, like, I think it was during the pandemic when everybody needed something to do. A lot of celebrities, got on board or got finagled into promoting, things that they didn't know about. And so that's why in the past you may have seen a lot of celebrities get caught up in lawsuits where people lost money. And that's the part about the blockchain and cryptocurrency that, people may be afraid of, because they're thinking like, nah, like it's like some type of underworld where people just scamming and spamming, but it's really, I guess that's the gag. It's like, while they promoted that it's an issue and a problem, but people spam and scam using regular hardware. You can go to a gas station and be afraid to swipe your card, okay? in the thing, because on the news they're gonna tell you how they got people that's putting covers over the thing. So now you gotta jiggle the thing before you even swipe your card. To make sure, it's just all type of ways. Regardless, you have to be like accountable and responsible for yourself, and also have some things on the back end to where if something happens, maybe you just have a certain account that only transacts for certain things. So that way your entire life is not like in one account. And so that could be helpful. Period. Like you just have something where it's just gas and food, and you only send the money over there when you're getting gas and food. Okay, so yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Again, you have major corporations that are not waiting; they've been using this stuff. Like that's how Zelle came about. That's how a lot of stuff that we see now, where it looks like it's happening like this, peer to peer payments. That's your Venmo. That's your PayPal. That's your Cash App. That's your Zelle. What else? Anything that looks like that, right? Like these are things that originally were created within that what they call cryptography, or within that blockchain setting. But the company has to make it usable or understandable for the person, right? They're not going to say, hey, why don't you send your blockchain payment, or why don't you send your peer-to-peer payment? It's like, who is a peer-to-peer? Like peer-to-peer, like water to water, port to port? Like, what are we doing, right? They had to make it user friendly. So yeah, so JP Morgan Chase, they built Onyx. That's their blockchain payment system, right? Which is something they'll probably be using in-house. Nestle uses blockchain to verify infant nutrition ingredients in China. Ford tracks cobalt mining for electric vehicles to ensure ethical sourcing. That's major, okay? Because we know cobalt, that we know where that comes from, the Congo, and that's helpful, to just be able to have that trace going on. And hopefully, as we get more into this rare earth minerals, all these different things that these new contracts and new agreements that countries are getting into, hopefully, the people who have been a part of these different wars for these minerals can begin to actually see the benefit, and not just be on the side of the war for their resources. And then, of course, governments are innovating too. Estonia has digital residency on the blockchain. Dubai wants to become the first blockchain powered state. And West Virginia successfully used blockchain voting for military personnel overseas. And yeah, it's just, there's way more examples. I'm just giving a baby of examples. That'll be a good video too. So y'all can drop it in the comments if y'all want a video like that too. Overall, the innovation is exploding. And, so the numbers tell the story. The blockchain market is expected to reach 943 billion by 2032. The healthcare blockchain alone is projected to hit 815 million by 2026. That's next year, guys. This isn't speculation anymore. It's transformation in progress. Like we're literally living through a boom. But we're still early. Okay. Imagine this is funny. Imagine a self-driving car that owns themselves, right? And pays for their own maintenance. Okay, internet connected devices that can automatically, autonomously transact and upgrade, and digital cities where citizens vote on every decision in real time. Like you can literally be in the store and they're like, all right, we're sending out the vote. You're like, oh crap, let me go ahead and make sure I vote. And bam, you done voted for today, you know? Now, of course, doesn't it feel good to, get out, interact with people, go vote in real time? Yes. You should be able to do that. But in a world where we actually should be doing less of certain things and more of like being in our purpose and stepping more into our calling and what we're really here to do, instead of those, instead of the things that probably never really had nothing to do with being a human anyway. Like, just take it there, okay? But for the mere fact that we have all these things going on, it's what's called time preference. And I learned this reading the Bitcoin Standard. You know, it's it's about your time preference. What would you prefer to spend time doing? And then when you're spending that time doing that, you can also spend time creating something that helps you do that even better, right? Because when you do that, it's not only going to serve you, it's actually going to serve your future generations, because now they're doing something way sooner, faster, or better than what you started doing. And then say on the other side there's somebody else doing the same thing, but they're not trying to create a tool for it, they're not trying to create a system for it, or just anything. They're just, doing it their way at that pace, the normal thing every day. It's okay, no matter what a person chooses. But in the long run, the time preference, when you decide to, the example that they gave was basically, there was a woman, and this is a real company. Um, they were going out to fish every day. Her and another person, they go out for 8 hours and they fish. Right. Well, she decided, you know what? I like this. I like this fishing thing, but I need to make. I gotta find a way to make more money, or I need to get more fish, or something got to change. So she would go and fish, and then she would also spend time creating a tool. And guess what that tool was? A fishing rod. So instead of her having to go out fish whatever way they was fishing before, we just say with their hands, now she has a fishing rod. So she's like, and she has a net. So she catching with a net, and she got a fishing rod, right? So now she coming back with more fish, right? More fish in that same amount of time. So then the next step was basically she took it to another step where she learned some more information, and she had access to like another place. Like she basically just kept taking it and basically positioning herself to do more in a way. And by the time she turned around, her children, or, the people that, were around her, it wasn't that it made it easier, but by the time it got to their generation, they were already upgraded in a sense, if that makes sense. So she was thinking ahead versus the other person, their generation still continue to do the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, which is fine. It depends on your culture. It depends on what you're doing, right? But it's always two sides to a story and how people can live. So it was an interesting example. The conclusion is that through the lens of API, of authenticity, purpose, and innovation, the blockchain is really here to transform a lot of our everyday experiences. So we're going to start seeing more of these terms like stable coins and tokens and coins and crypto and, smart contract. We're just going to start hearing a lot more of this. So, and based on what you tuned into too, because most people, there are a lot of things that have changed in general, but we would never know it because we're presented with like the pretty side of it, the user interface that makes it easy for us not to have to dive into what's really running on the back end, right? And the best example of this that I've heard that I continue to think about is when someone gave an example about Facebook, and they were like, but Facebook didn't say, hey guys, come share your data so that your friends can explore, like the information that you're storing on social media. No, they sold people, come share with your friends and family, period, right? And so that's the difference. That's what on the front end we're being sold. Like there's always just like not a key word, but just like theme, right, of what you're doing, what the end user will be doing on this platform, and what we're doing on these platforms. Versus on the back end, there's this big infrastructure machine that is just churning away all of those micro moments that we're having on the front end. It's almost like when you're a child and everything is just like, well, not for all children, but just in general, let's just say it's a happy day at, the moments that are always, just great. We'll just still use children because every parent wants their children to have a great life. So we'll just say as a child, you're kind of unaware of what's happening on the back end, right? For the most part, your parents will show you the good side of things or whatnot. But once you actually peek behind the curtain, some people are not gonna never peek. But this blockchain is giving us access to peek. But once you actually peek or you get a whiff of conversation or you start to realize like how some people have, like when you hear different people's lives and they say, man, I saw my mom, she was working every day. And I was just like, I got to get a job. I got to do something. I got to help put food on the table, right? It's like, it's those moments where you're like, I need to do something. I want to contribute or, I want to see how this runs too. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been a slight intro to blockchain basics. And of course, hopefully you enjoyed it. And I hope that you, of course, do your own research. And I will have more videos coming out. And we'll go from there. All right, see y'all. Peace.